This is Spencer, and I sing for the band Periphery.
Brilliant. It's nice to have you guys here. Can you tell us a bit more about the two-song acoustic single?
Oh yeah, so that kind of came about as an accident, really. So last year we did this short 2 week run in the U.S. with Mike Dawes opening for us, and we were all practicing at a warehouse here in Las Vegas. Mike Dawes was practicing with us too. And me and him, after one of the days of practice, just went upstairs and like started running over these acoustic versions of the songs that we were going to play live. We were just going to cut them live, and we had a recording studio upstairs. So we ran through them a few times the first day, and then the next day we went up to do it again.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow, these are turning out awesome. Like we're in a recording studio, we should just cut the guitar right now in case we want to do anything with it down the road. So we did. And then after we played the songs every night on that tour, during we had that chill part during the Periphery set where Mike would come out. We played the two songs. We just had it was great crowd response to the song. So we were like, after this tour, let's actually sit down and put together like acoustic versions of these songs. So it's kind of a weird way that it happened. I'm really glad that we ended up cutting the acoustic because Mike had to go home back to the UK after that tour. So we had the acoustics all tracked and ready, and then I brought the recordings home and then cut the vocals over them.
And went from there. Yeah. Gee,
Yeah.
amazing. Misha, sorry, we were just talking about the two-song acoustic single. Did you want to input anything there?
Yeah, I sang on. I did all the vocals for that, and it's like my first time ever. No, I'm just joking.
Did you?
Yeah, now that was a Spencer and Mike Dawes project. I contributed some layers and like some backing stuff just to fill out the sound a little bit. But that was Spencer kind of overseeing that entire thing. I thought it was really cool. It's always fun to take the back seat on something or just like you know
Yeah. Get to
fill
take
in a
that.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice dynamic.
That's awesome. Periphery was really your brainchild, Misha. Did you have Spencer and the others in mind from the beginning?
Spencer is our fourth singer, but he's the only one who survived.
Yes.
The other ones, they all exploded in various different ways. No, it's tough. Bands are tough, and anyone who's started a band will tell you like it's really hard to find the right members. I think the example's been given many times before, but it's like being married to
Yes.
four or five people, right?
Yeah.
Who all have to get along. I always say it's a bit of a miracle that any band works at all.
Yeah.
But I remember when Spencer joined up, he was very green at the time, but like I just saw this like immense potential, and I told him early on like why I thought he would work really well for us, and he was hungry, and I was like just because it was tough in the beginning. We were all fairly green. We were getting quite a bit of hate, and it's very easy to sort of give up. But like Spencer never did, and I always saw the fire in him to improve, and even to this day, it's like he's
Yeah.
always. I think everyone in the band's like that too. We're always hungry, like to just like, all right, cool. So we're here. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't
Um,
believe I didn't know that you guys got a bit of hate when you first started out. What was that like?
oh yeah,
Time. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Just like what, bagging your I don't know, I guess abilities or
Uh, I, I mean, starting out, I wasn't the best singer in the world. Like Misha was saying, he saw the potential in me.
yeah.
And I think the band liked the way I composed vocals and like wrote them for the records, things
Yeah.
like that. But I mean, I wasn't anywhere near where I'm at now, ability wise, with singing. So there was a little bit of, you know, ragging on me online. And
Oh,
I mean, as Misha said, like we've never worried about that from the beginning. We always just knew if we were happy, then we're doing things the right way.
yeah. That's it. That's it. That leads me to one of my other questions actually is did you, Spencer, have any or have you had any formal vocal training because you're able to produce such beautiful melodic, tones and that, but then also do really harsh vocals as well. Have you had training or is that natural to you?
I never have, all
Wow.
self-taught, and it's really just due to, I really love recording and producing when we're not working on Periphery stuff. Like I'm always writing, I'm producing for other people. So I think a lot of that, just doing that regularly, just kind of beat things into my brain and help me learn and analyze things differently over time.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And with the songwriting process, is it a collaborative effort from all of you guys, or is there just sort of one person behind the lyrics and message?
I would say every album has gotten more and more collaborative, down to our last record, Periphery 5, but that was like a huge group effort in the music, vocals, lyrics, everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when I started the band, I started it myself, but the dream was always to have a collaborative project. The whole point of starting was a band was I didn't want to do everything myself.
yourself. Yeah,
But that's tricky because just because you have people in your band doesn't mean that you'd necessarily have good chemistry or that
yeah,
would work. But I think we're just in a really good place. We've gotten better with time, but we've always had good writing chemistry.
yeah,
Um, and nothing's sacred, like although Spencer does write like basically all the lyrics, he's very open to us being like, well, what are you trying to say? Like, is there another way to say it? Or like, is there a way that sounds better? Changed, we've changed be like, hey, that chorus, I don't feel like we're quite hitting it. We'll just rewrite a new chorus. And he's very generous, very gracious with that, like not everyone would necessarily be cool with that.
yeah,
But I think
yeah.
we all are pretty good at taking a step back and being like, all right, like this is not about my riff or my part or whatever. Like we're all kind of looking at it and be like, all right, yeah, that's not there yet, and it's kind
Yeah.
of taking a step back and being honest and not taking it personally. Then we all realize we're on the same team. And when we hear that thing, we're like, all right, now we've got it. It's like that was the goal all along. It was never about saying that your part wasn't
One.
good or appropriate. It's really
Yeah.
just taking a step back and writing for the song. So I feel very lucky that we have this relationship where we get to write like that. It makes it very easy when we get into a flow because it's just like about problem solving, really. And the problem to solve is how do we end up with a thing that we're happy with?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's really powerful if it has all of you guys involved, not just say one person all the time saying this is the direction and all that. Yeah. What's different between your early releases to Gent is not a genre?
I mean, that came. What was that? 2009. That's like 15 years ago. We've changed a lot as people. We've back then we weren't touring. We've learned a lot. And in some ways we're doing exactly the same thing in that we're just sort of exploring and just having fun and just trying to make stuff that sounds cool to us.
Yeah.
But in other ways, we feel like we've raised the bar with certain releases and when we want it's now harder to find stuff that makes the cut and stuff that maybe would have been okay in the past. We're like, that's not hitting the mark anymore. We've kind of done that. Like, how do we have something that feels satisfying? So,
Yeah.
in some ways it's very similar, and in some ways it's completely different. But in as much as anyone changes in 15 years,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it'd be really weird if you guys didn't change and you just stuck to everything. It's obvious that you guys have learned a lot from those earlier releases and touring.
Yeah, there's certain bands that do that really well though. Like, I think of a band like Lamb of God, they sounded very consistent
Yeah,
over the
that's
years to where it's like I don't really think I'd want to hear anything too different from it. It's like you kind of know what you're
true. You're
getting.
gonna get it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I think as long as like what you're doing is honest, as long as like it always does feel honest when bands that don't change their sound very much do it well, it's because it sounds like that's what they're going for.
yeah,
It's this
and that,
genuine there's this genuine sort of sense about it. I think where you get into trouble is like maybe if you had an era that you feel was like the one that connected with fans and you're trying to chase that glory, and you'd be like, well, let's do an album that sounds like that, or let's try to figure out what was going on that. And like that's something that I know would be pretty much impossible for us to do because we're
yeah.
just not in the same place as people.
Yeah, no, but I think it's really smart as well if you've recognized that's something, if there's a piece or an album that really resonated with the fans, saying to yourselves, well, okay, maybe we can't get back there. Let's try and do something new and fresh. I totally agree with what you said about, trying to not always stick to what worked in the past. And yeah.
Yeah, to just comment on something that you said, like it's not really about reaching people with us. We do a very selfish pursuit. That's amazing that it works,
Yeah.
I know that there's one thing that we're all pretty united on. It's really about just getting the five of us to be stoked.
Yeah.
Like if the four of us are stoked and like Spencer's not stoked, that'll kill it for me. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
that's like, oh, that's a bummer. I know we can do. I know we can write stuff where all of us are stoked. You know, and that's generally how we kind of all operate. I mean, I said Spencer there. It could be me. It could be anyone. But like, if we're not all there, like those are the people that we're trying to make happy. Is the five of
Yeah.
us.
Oh, that's cool.
Beyond that, it's lucky. We're very grateful that people listen to our stuff because there's very little consideration for what people will think of it, and I think there's always this sense.
I was sorry. I was just gonna say it's funny you're saying that because I was thinking about what's different about now, like what you were talking about, and I feel like on every other record aside from P5, there certain people had to kind of like be okay with well, I'm not 100% with this song, or I'm not 100% with this part, but the rest of the band is, and I feel like P5 was kind of the first record where, I mean, we had enough time to do it and make it work, but I feel like everybody was so stoked with everything across the board, and
Yeah.
we were really trying to make sure that that was the case. Like if one person wasn't happy, I remember a few parts or a few songs where I wasn't super stoked during the writing process, and everybody in the band was like, well, what is it about it, or what can we
Right.
do to get you stoked there, and I feel like that's probably the biggest difference with this new stuff as
Yeah.
opposed to older releases.
Wow. So
And we cut entire songs or entire ideas over that,
wow.
like
It
if we
has to
can't solve it,
satisfy.
it's like it's not saying we won't ever work on
Yeah.
it, but it just wasn't happening. It's no need to force it. I'd say that's actually the big shift. If there was a big sort of schism in our approach, it would be Periphery 4 when we started 3 Dot and we're on our own label and we're on our own schedule. It allowed us the time to just be like, all right, well, we're going to take exactly the amount of time that we need for this album. Before that, we were always beholden to some sort of schedule or deadlines that even if we miss them, we're generally trying to meet. Whereas now the music feels very sacred, management and everyone's on board, and like it all starts with the album. So that's where I'd say there was a big shift. Is as a Periphery 4, we've been able to get to a point where people are more happy. Everyone's closer to that 100% happiness with what we're putting out because we have the time to refine it to where everyone can kind of feel like we've got the right songs.
And producing it yourself, like you guys said, I imagine that would relieve quite a bit of pressure as well in all of that sense.
Yeah, well, we've always self-produced, so it's kind of like all we know. We've toyed around with like other producers and tried some stuff out, and it wasn't right for us. I think the thing I've come to understand is because I produce bands, Spencer produces bands, like it may seem hypocritical, but like the way to see it is like a producer can be really good when you have like a band with a lot of talent, but maybe not like the most solidified vision.
Mm-hmm.
And what they can do is they can take that step back and be that vision and sort of like organize the vision, see the forest for the trees, kind of get like a vibe and everything going that the band themselves can't quite lock into.
Yeah.
And that's where the producer can be super essential. But where you have a problem is if you have a band that has a very, very specific vision, like it's already like our vision is so clear and our process is so clear that unless we find a producer who happens to mesh perfectly with that, it ends up just butting heads, and it ends up just like kind of slowing the process down.
Yeah.
That's why it's never quite. So I'll never say never. Like I'm sure there's a producer out there who would work, chemistry wise, very well with us, but until we find them, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's exactly right. Bit of a different question here for you guys. If you guys weren't in Periphery, what would you guys be doing?
God, I don't want to think about it. It'd be pretty rough.
I haven't worked a normal job. I haven't worked a real job since I was 23, so I don't even know how to answer that question.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Any hobbies? Like, what do you like doing outside of the band?
Spencer, you first.
I like health and fitness. I mean, that's always been kind of a hobby of mine. Taking
Spencer be a personal trainer. There we go.
Yeah. I guess something like that, or nutritionist or something. I don't know. I mean, that's always kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, awesome.
I love cars way too much, so probably something to do with cars. Something, But yeah, I'd probably try to race.
That's
But
cool.
I don't think I'd be good enough. So that wouldn't be, that'd just
Do
be
you
a
have
thing where I spend money. I don't get paid.
do you have the full like VR setup with the steering wheel? And I thought so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I've
that's
had
how
that for
invested
many
I
years now.
am.
Yeah.
Where does your biggest inspiration come from lyrically and musically?
Really just whatever is kind of either going on in my life or whatever I'm interested in at the time. Like, for example, when we were writing Juggernaut, we wanted to write a concept record, and I was really into like old horror movies at that time. And Rosemary's Baby was like my favorite horror movie at that time. So I took inspiration from that.
Yeah,
And it's so different between every record, like the lyrical content. And
yeah,
it's really just where I'm at in my life. And I mean, I don't know if Misha can relate to that musically, kind of whatever's going on in your life dictates like the style and stylistically how you're writing at that time.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I mean, maybe somewhat. It's not as direct. When you have lyrics, you can write about stuff. So I'm definitely not one of those people who like is consciously working through emotions or anything like that with the music.
yeah,
It's more just this. Like, I just like writing. I've always like since I started writing in like 2002 or whatever. I've always just liked writing, and it's just the thing I like to do, whether or not that music ever comes out. And I'm just in certain moods to write certain kind of stuff. I don't
mhm,
really know why. Um, but also this stuff takes a life. It takes on a life of its own. Like when we get together, there's just an energy. It's a big reason why I think we've been a band as long as we have. Like there's a very special energy that just comes out. Like there have been so many times we've gone into a writing session and I'm just like, oh God, like I'm tapped. Like I feel like I have nothing in the tank. Like what am I gonna do? And this I'm just so energized by being around the guys that it just feels like all of a sudden like I have all the ideas in the world and just it just takes a spark from one of them and then all of a sudden it's like oh yeah what if we try this and that gets some momentum going. That's a very special feeling. That's awesome.
yeah,
And I love that. So I love the writing sessions with the guys. But like because it takes a life of its own, so many times, like pretty much every time, we'll usually have some sort of discussion about what our goals are with the album, like what we're feeling, like where our heads at, like what we think we want it to sound like, and then we've got like a bunch of old demos that like have been in the demo graveyard. They're like, oh, maybe we could use this or use
wow,
that.
that's
And
awesome.
pretty much every time the album just ends up completely different from what
For
we
to what
planned.
you thought,
Ab-
yeah,
Absolutely. It's really funny. I think, Periphery 4 is a pretty heavy, dark album. I'm pretty sure I remember distinctly having a conversation like, maybe we should go for like more of an ambient thing, like more like
yeah,
chill, quiet, like more melodic. And
yeah,
everyone's like, yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be great. But we've also learned to sort of just follow the thread. Just this thing is going to be what it's going to be, and you can fight it or you could go with it. And
yeah,
it just becomes what it becomes. So I don't think there's ever any sort of conscious aspect of like I want it to be this or that, or I'm trying to work through this or that. And even if there is, it never seems to work out. So just I feel like it more like a passenger.
yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome that it works that way for you, that you just get around the guys and then you're inspired. Like that's yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any music you guys like at the moment that may be a surprise given the music you make?
Metal music is pretty much the last thing I choose to listen to if I'm ever listening to music.
Really?
Yeah, it's at the point now where like since it's what we do,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's subconscious or not, but like I'm it's just too much on my ears, and also like taking inspiration from other genres and styles and fusing it into metal. I feel like that helps me keep my sound original at least.
yeah, yeah. And you?
Yeah. I I'm like my confession is I don't listen to that much music. Yeah, I'm pretty bad about it. I listen to a lot of podcasts or silence.
Yeah,
Um, my girlfriend does this thing though, where like, because we've got like a Sonos system in our living room, where like pretty much anytime we're awake, it'll either be playing like the classical station or like chill jazz. So
yeah,
that's just always going on in the background, and I like that because I don't really have to focus on it.
yeah.
But uh, yeah, and I literally turned in the master for this electronic project that Jake from the band and I are working on called 4 Seconds Ago for our second album. And I always find when I'm working on music, like it's really, really hard to listen to anything else. I think Spencer could probably relate to that. Like when you're in writing mode or working mode, it's like that becomes what takes up all of this. It's very hard to listen to anything else. So that also probably is part of the reason why I just haven't been able to listen to anything recently.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then I guess as well, jazz and podcasts, it's kind of like that background sound that you can just
Yeah. Anything like I think one thing I've realized, which I'm like I don't know how to get out of this, is like I listen to music very actively, especially if it's a style of music that I kind of know how to make.
Yeah.
So like if like I'm so jealous of people that could put on music and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like if I could do that, I would listen to so much music.
Yeah.
But like it throws me into analytical mode. And I used to be that way with electronic music, which is why I loved it so much. But now that I make it, I also get analytical with that. So now it becomes hard to listen to that. Like I like it, but it's just it's like work. It's like such an active process, and I just can't shut that part of my brain off.
All right.
So at least like with classical stuff in the background, the jazz stuff in the background, it doesn't invade. It's just kind of a nice, pleasant thing, but it doesn't. It allows me to focus on other things, and it doesn't take over, which is kind of nice.
Are you guys looking forward to coming to Australia and that really long flight that you have to get on?
No,
the flight not so much, but coming there, yes. Like I think what has it been 7 years now since we've been there, and Australia has always been one of my favorite places in the world to go. Always have a couple days off worked into the routing and stuff, and getting to spend time at the beach. And we're always there, around summertime for you guys. So it's just
best time.
Great weather.
Yeah.
I genuinely would enjoy Australia if it was real, but I think we all know that it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
And that like all Australians are just crisis actors, probably paid off by George Soros or something. So,
you got us.
No, it's genuinely, it's a testament to how much we love Australia that we put up with that horrendous flight. I think Mark's coming from Spain.
Oh my God.
And Jake and Matt's not coming because he had a baby, but Jake coming from New Jersey, he's got to get a cross country flight to LA and then another 13-hour flight. So yeah, we make the trek because we love it down there. Believe it or not, I think Australians and Americans get along very well, and the crowds have always been very, very good to us. Like I say this sometimes, like there's a lot of markets that we have to work for, like Germany, for example, really have had to put a lot of work into Germany to make that work. But Australia's just always been great to us. It's been very easy. So we always look forward to going there. I think we haven't been there in forever just because of the pandy mainly. So like, it's overdue, and we're gonna play some stuff that you guys missed out on. So that'll be kind of nice.
Sick. We can't wait. Well, the Wildfire Tour kicks off November 2nd in Brisbane. One of the shows is already sold out as well. I think Melbourne. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah, I think it might be Melbourne. Yeah. But Brisbane isn't. So buy tickets to Brisbane. The tickets went on sale very, very late, and I don't know that people know about it. So come to the Brisbane show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they just went on sale 3 or 4 days ago or something, right?
Yeah. It's a little too close for comfort. So hopefully some people show up.
They will.
Oh, we're playing. How do you say Canberra?
Canberra.
I always say it right. Canberra. The capital. The capital of your wonderful country.
Yeah.
Right there in the center. Good old Canberra.
Yeah. Nothing to do, but it's a nice place.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I can think of one thing to do, and that's come to our show.
That's there you go.
Whatever date that is. It'll be a party. It'll be our first time there.
Oh, awesome.
I pray I don't see any huntsmen. That's my only request. No huntsmen.
It's summer.
No huntsmen.
Yeah.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, we'll just tell them all to just not be in your area when you come.
Yeah, tell them to go whatever other shows happening that night.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon. And thank you so much for a wonderful interview.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.